Fantastic. Thank you so much, Veronica. It's always such a pleasure to work with you and the TAP team at CAEP, and we're really excited about this session. Boy, a lot has even changed, Mary Ann, right, since we last taught this workshop, and now that COVID is opening up, we call it our interim recovery. So we've added a lot of new information to this particular session that we're going to do today, and really get into some good discussions and tools that you can take away. My name is Selena Shands. I am the CEO and founder of Full Capacity Marketing. And for those of you who are not familiar with our company, we've been around for almost 2 decades. Every time I say that, I feel extremely old. But we have hit our 19-year mark actually this month. And we've helped during that time over 500 workforce and education organizations. That is our specialty. We do a lot of work in student recruitment campaigns and employer engagement, and particularly, which you'll see today, using what we call psychographic information to really tailor the right message to get to the right medium. So we're very excited to be here, and I'm joined by Mary Ann Conlon, who is our Director of Marketing and Communications, actually our Vice President of Marcom. And Mary Ann, why don't you tell a little bit about your background, because it really lends to the workshop today. Oh, and you're on mute, Mary Ann.
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go.
I was just say it's great to be here today, and hello to some people that we've worked with. I've seen a couple names on there. So you get a little bit of a preview of probably some of the things we're going to be telling you in a few weeks too. My background is out of consumer marketing, big corporate marketing, and I've been with FCM for about 5 years, and it's been really great to take some of the things that is typically used in consumer marketing, such as development of personas and market research to the adult education field. I'm really passionate about this. I've taught in the classroom, and I have been just enjoying working with this, especially in this time when things have changed so much. And it's been really good to take my background in social media, digital marketing, and bringing it to this new world that we're all living in right now.
Yeah, it definitely is a new world, that's for sure. And as I mentioned, a lot has changed since we taught this workshop a couple of months ago. And so we're going to go kind of revisit a lot of the research and have updated the recruitment lens needed, what we're calling our interim pandemic recovery. So we'll start off the workshop with that, and then really we're breaking it from there into 2 other main pieces. One is a deep dive look into using personas to develop effective recruitment messages. And Lori and Lorianne, that's where you guys will come in at the end of that section. We're going to do some workshops really about your students, where you see enrollments down, and how the type of student, we'll get into that with you during the workshop. And that way everybody can kind of see how we're applying this whole process in real time, really. And then we wanted you guys to walk away with some tools. And what we've done is we've created a national campaign with COABE, the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, called Move Ahead with Adult Ed. As part of that, we've developed a campaign toolkit. Even though it's a national campaign, there are tools in there that you can take and use for a localized campaign. So what we'll do in that section is overview all the tools, and then we pick 2 tools to take a little bit deeper for you, because we feel these are ones you can really sink your teeth into, which is really talking about e-marketing and drip campaigns and public relations strategies to engage reporters, as well as using social media with the reporter. So that's gonna be our lineup for today. And I think, Mary Ann, now's a good time to sort of take a look at the new research taking place right now, and what do we know during this time of interim recovery?
Things have changed, and if you were in the last workshop, you might have noticed a couple of these things we talked about: device and internet access, and how that has changed, because these were the challenges during COVID. Device and internet access. Obviously, there were health concerns, there were childcare issues, a lack of trust in the value of education, challenges with in-person outreach, we know about that, and changing media patterns. So I think you've been hearing this in other workshops you've attended, or in meetings, or on the news. But what we want to do today is say, okay, these are the challenges that were COVID, but now we're in a new a new era. I think it's June 14th or June 15th that Governor Newsom said that we are going to be pretty much completely opened up. What does that look like? So what we're going to do today is show you what is the same as it was 6 months ago and what's different for the interim period here until we know what's going to be the new normal.
Great.
Next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. So here is what's changed. Device and internet access. This is less of a concern than it used to be. 6 months ago, a year ago now, I guess, during COVID, there was a big scramble, as we all know in the very beginning, with getting access to particularly to our adult students. Health concerns, obviously, in many of the underserved communities, there are still some very, very strong concerns on health. It's not gone away. COVID is still with us, and we know the vaccination rate, particularly in our state, is much lower in those vulnerable communities, of which a lot of our adult schools serve. So we don't want to say that it is not a concern, but it's less of a concern. Childcare issues, boy, that's a huge one right now. They're declining, but of course, as we open up, it's now summer, which, as those of you with kids also know, is a whole nother childcare issue. A lack of trust in the value of education. This is increasing, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. The challenges with in-person outreach. Obviously, we're allowed to get out a little bit more, be able to go back to some of the things that worked in the past that we haven't been able to do over the last year and a half. Changing media patterns. We're not sure what's going to come out of this. Are we all going to be sick of spending our lives online or not? We don't know. That's really kind of unclear at this point, what will stick and what won't. And finally, and you may have been noticing this has been popping up in the news a lot, self-reflection is increasing. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more, show you some research that we found in the next couple slides. First, okay, so closing the digital divide. Like many things, COVID has really increased or speeded up closing the digital divide. There were millions of Chromebooks distributed. Globally, PC purchases increased by 55% in the last year. It's a huge number. So there's a lot more people with devices. We know that the legislation is looking as being put out there to put dollars behind universal broadband. So we hope to see, particularly of those of you who serve in the rural areas or in very low income communities where there is not as much access, we're hoping to be able to solve those issues. And here's a biggie. I think that we have 82% of adult school students in one survey indicated their digital literacy and technology skills had improved since the pandemic. That's a huge thing. And we were talking before, Veronica was talking about it, about how we have to look at what role will online learning play going forward in adult education. Now, as I talked about before, the childcare issues remain. So we do know that a lot of parents, particularly 20% of working parents, had to leave work or reduce their work hours because they didn't have lack of childcare. We know, of course, that impacted women more highly than it did men. And here's the big issue, though. California lost 57,000 childcare slots to permanent closure since the start of the pandemic. You know, primarily these are small businesses. A lot of this is in-home childcare, particularly with our more vulnerable populations. Sometimes it's family and sometimes it's a small in-home childcare. And we know it's not that easy for small businesses to turn around and open back up. So that is going to be a big concern going forward. And I think we have to really keep thinking about how childcare is going to impact our students' ability to participate in classes. Changes in learning preferences. And I don't know how many of you have seen this, but we've heard this from a number of clients. People have said, we lost a lot of students during the beginning of the pandemic, but we got a whole new group that we'd never had before who were interested in online learning. And so that was a kind of a big aha for us. And I think for education across the spectrum from preschool through adult education is there is just a large group of people who have a preference for it. In the adult space, that really means people who can't get to the classroom, but online is going to be so important for them going forward. And this isn't our workshop, but for some, I think you're having another workshop about online. It's the ability to teach online, and I taught online for 8 years, I think. It is so different than teaching in the classroom, and I think we've all gotten better at it over the last year, but it's a challenge, and it has to really be addressed because that is definitely becoming a preference for a large group of people. Okay, so this is something that you may have heard a little bit about, but maybe not a lot. But there are a lot of studies out there. This is from Pew Research, one of my favorite sources for research information. A lot of workers are interested in reskilling and transitioning to a new field, but they're often not interested in moving to where the jobs are. So we're hearing a lot of employers complain that they can't find workers. Well, they can't find workers a lot of times for things that aren't good jobs. That's one issue, is people are really want to transition to a new field because, boy, it's got to have been scary if you were working for 10 years, 15 years, even 5 years in a field, perhaps hospitality, and all of a sudden it's a year of you're not being able to go to work. That's scary. But the transitioning to jobs is so difficult without the training, and that's where we come in, because there are employers out there who need workers and we can help move them into those jobs. But it's so important. We're really front line there in adult education because we have the background of working with people who may not be educationally focused. We work with people all the time who are brilliant. They're very, very smart, but maybe they've had bad experiences in school. So we have a real big role to play in this transition. And what we call this is the interest gap, where workers want to work, but the kind of work that's actually available, they may not be trained for. I got off on a tangent there. Sorry, Celine, you're going to be mad at me for this.
That's okay. I was asking people in the chat while you were on your soapbox. I actually love when you get on your soapbox because you go so deep in the research. I was just asking if folks are seeing these trends, at their school, and there's many of them are saying yes, like in high school diploma, GED, high set, prep. Lori was saying that academic programs, yes, was another one. So they're seeing them.
Okay, great. And then another big research study that has come out for adult learners, and this is adult learners across the spectrum. Aspiring adult learners are less confident in the value of education. So that is kind of a scary thing. You see it everywhere. You see parents of elementary school students saying, I don't necessarily know that in-person school is where I want my kid to be. I think I can do this at home. You're seeing college students saying, the Cal State, even the UCs are $30,000 a year. Private schools are $80,000 a year. Do I want to spend that? Really? Is it really going to be worth it? So you're seeing that. And then in adult learners, what we're seeing with adult learners is, I need to see what the value is of this education. What is the value of my time that I could be spending working or with my family to actually get educated? What am I going to see at the end? So that is something that people have not questioned as much as they are now.
And the reason we're setting the stage on this is all these trends are really important in how you position your school and your offerings, and also tap in, and we're going to talk about this, into the emotional feelings of your prospective adult learners.
Yes, and right now, though, let's talk a little bit more about how we reach them, though. I love this chart. Look at this. 2019. Look at the change in the average monthly visits between 2019 and 2020. The change is looking this: a lot more people spending time on social media than they did in the past. So this is really important because people have gotten used to spending a lot more of their time online. I think we mentioned in the beginning about how we all know how Zoom works because we spend so much time on it. And people spend a lot of time on social media now and online and discovering different ways to communicate online. Excuse me, I got to move my cat. Okay, sorry about that. He was just getting ready to jump in front of the camera. um, so I think that it's important that we meet them where they are. With the flip side of that one is people want to get out the door too. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to take some of the things that we did in the past to reach out to adult learners and maybe tweak them, but to be able to make them better, build back better, really, in terms of using our traditional outreach methods as well.
Definitely. Okay, so good. So let's jump into then with those trends. We're going to section it out now into messages and mediums, starting with messages. And for those of you who saw the workshop, you probably know the answer to this question, but how many ads did we see daily in 2020? Put it in the chat if you think, during COVID, how many ads did we see a day? Okay, so what I'm saying is internet, pop-up ads, television, radio, etc. Anybody want to wager a guess there? 200. Thank you, Laura. Actually, this may really blow your mind, Laura, but we have seen too daggone many, between 6,000 and 10,000 ads daily in information overload. That went up from 2019 from 3,000 to 6,000 that we see depending on your market. So we bring this up, and there's an article here in your package that you can link to and check that out. But it's amazing because we're on information overload, and this is your competition. You trying to get in new adult learners to your school, they're bombarded with messages. So the message is really important. We always say at FCM, you miss the message, you miss the mark. So how do you cut through that noise? And part of it is through what we call emotional messaging. Now, when you think about it, research will show that the way we as humans process information and make decisions is through emotion. And your students are no different. This is not a snap decision whether to take this class or, go and continue my pathway. They're really thinking through it, and it has to, our messages have to hit them on an emotional level. And so that's what we're going to work on in this section. And the way we get to emotional message is through psychographics. Marianne, you want to take this over from here and talk a little bit about psychographics and also what we've learned in our interim recovery?
Yes, psychographics, and those of you who have seen us present before or have talked to us about this before know that psychographic is very key to what we to how we work. Psychographics is basically the study of emotions and behavior and lifestyle. It's important that we understand that because, as you probably know, just from seeing different advertisements all the time or seeing things online, what really makes you stop to look, especially when you have 6,000 messages coming at you every day, is when something touches you. It touches you emotionally. It's either a need or a want or something that really resonates with you. So what we do is with psychographics is actually a scientific field that has a lot of people participating in it. And we are able to use a lot of studies to really understand how lifestyle, behavior, ethnicity, age, economics impacts how people think and what touches them emotionally. So when we're talking about adult learners, though, what we see is, and you may have seen this in the research, is pretty well established, there are key motivators that really touch people. One is a goals, a belief in their ability to succeed, and a pathway to better jobs. And those have all been tested this year. Boy, we have all been kind of looking and saying, there goes that goal, there goes this goal. Can I succeed in this online world? Where are the jobs? So this is something that we know is important to success, but it's also something that's been challenged. We're also a little unclear right now how much hope will be restored as vaccine distribution increases and people get back to work. We are hoping everything is going to be fine and we don't get another wave, but I don't think anyone's 100% comfortable right now that that's not going to happen. Workers' confidence in the availability of jobs in any type will continue to be a hurdle during this interim period. And as students return to the classroom, a lot of people really been beat down this year. You know, people who have been successful in the classroom. I'm sure you've all saw at the beginning of the pandemic, people who were your good students and great students in the classroom did not find online worked for them. And so now they've got a challenge, a belief in their ability to succeed. We're hoping that that will increase as we start getting rays of hope here in the interim recovery period. And on the other hand, as I talked about before, a whole new cohort of people see online learning as a new pathway to meet their goals. So this psychographics during the interim recovery is somewhat malleable. It will change, but this is what we're seeing now and some projections we have of what we need to look at going forward, particularly for this upcoming recruitment period.
Definitely. And so part of this is like looking at how to take that information and create emotional messages. And to Mary Ann's point on the previous slide, your message, let's say your enrollments are down in ESL, okay? That market segment message is going to be very different than someone who is looking maybe to get into CTE, do a different career pathway, et cetera. So part of this, we want you to start thinking about where your enrollment's low, because you want to create emotional messages for each of your segments. It's not a one size fits all, okay? And the first step in that is using psychographics to understand what's in your population's head. What are their barriers, their fears, et cetera. That's kind of the first step. Once you've done that and understand really what their barriers are, then we create what we call a persona, which is a fictional character to represent different user types for your workforce services, your education services, your educational service offering. Once a persona is created, then we create a strategy for the population you want to target. And then the last step is you apply that to a communication platform, which is 3 parts to the message: the pain point, the call to action, and the benefit, not the feature. So this is what we're going to dive into now and deep dive into these 4 steps. And then we'll take Lorianne and Lori and have a little discussion around that. Okay, Mary Ann, you are up.
Okay. So as we talked about a few slides ago, there are really 3 things that we want to look at: goals, a belief in success, and seeing clear pathways to jobs. So this is what we have seen for years at adult education. People who have goals, they've hit an inflection point in their life. And in the past, we've kind of looked at this and said that's been a divorce, a marriage, your kids going to school, having a baby. All these kind of life events will often motivate someone to go to school. It might be being laid off of the job. It might be, a whole lot of different things. And we know that these life events really trigger people to go to school. Well, guess what? 8 billion people had a life event this year. So this is definitely a time when people are thinking about changing and can have a goal to change their lives. And we know that's important. So this is really an important time for adult education. The other thing we know is a belief in success is so important for adult learners. Again, as we talked about, they may have had not great experiences with school in the past, but we have to work with their belief that they can succeed in this new world. And then finally, again, tying into that, people's concern. They need to see what they're getting out of it. What are the clear pathways to jobs? And then the state has really been big on this. And there's so many things going on, really trying to align education with jobs within the state. So this should be something we should focus on as well.
Definitely. And also too, this is also kind of the same steps, right, Mary Ann, just kind of thinking through their barriers, what they're thinking about.
Yeah, and it's changed a little bit. When we've done this workshop before, we've had different messages on here, and the messages now really are people are saying, I need to go online to school. I'm just seeing a whole new opportunity open up for me where I couldn't make it to the classroom, but I can do it online. And that's the challenges with that is going to be synchronous versus asynchronous education. What are the decisions you're making within your within your school about that. And that would be something I would be looking at with my populations, which is going to work for them. People are saying, what difference will it make if I go to school? I see people with jobs. I see employers saying they have jobs, but it's not a living wage. And do I even want to go there? And then we still have childcare issues. That hasn't gone away. And in fact, it's probably gotten worse as employers want people coming back into the workplace. And then again, just the time issue. A lot of people who've been out of work for so long don't have time to go to school because I'm so far in the hole. I need to make some money. I need to work 2 or 3 jobs. So those are some of the things we're hearing from people today.
So you guys could get together as a group. We actually have put in your package the step 2 on creating a persona. We're going to give you an example of a persona here and kind of work through it. But these are questions that you can sort of ask yourself as a team, thinking about a typical person that has interacted with your program, giving them a fictitious name, and then really bringing to life their story, what they're facing right now, just in terms of training and education. So that's in your package, but I really want to get to this example, Marianne, so that we can put it all together and then bring Lori in for a conversation.
Yeah, okay. So this is an example of a persona that we've put together. And this is Encarnacion. She is from Latin America, and she has arrived in the US 5 years ago. She worked first in the fields, then a local tienda. She's smart, but she has limited schooling. But she's quick at managing the register drawer. But she doesn't read well and speaks very little English. She rarely had to. Things are going well until the pandemic. She was saving money, thought she could soon get her own apartment, but then the stores where she worked closed. She had her son last April, and she wasn't sure what she was going to do. Her daughter's school closed on top of that, and she's been struggling to help her do classes on the Chromebook the school gave her. So kind of a point here. She got some digital literacy because her daughter had the Chromebook. She lives with her prima and abuelita and another family. But the hotspot is shared with 4 kids. Again, still access issues. And off it goes out. With the cheapest cell plan, she often runs out a minute, but usually someone at the line at the church pantry lets her use their phone for calls. Everywhere she looks, people are out of work. She doesn't know anyone who feels secure. Here's that look again, that life-changing event that hit all of us.
Now, we're not saying here that, hey, this is your student. Your job is to come up with this, right? And right now, by the way, these photos that we're showing, we're not in the marketing stage right now at all. We're preparing for marketing messages. So this is a step then using the psychographics and building a persona of your typical student in an area that you want to attract in terms of enrollment. And this, Marianne, I'm going to put all these up at once. This kind of gets into the next step, which is, okay, if this is what's going on in her head, right? And this is the persona, what's the message strategy need to be in order for recruitment?
So what we've done is, this is just a copy, all that text there is just a copy of what you saw in the previous slide. As Selena said, this is all prep stage for the message. And the reason we even put a picture up there is because it helps us relate to them. You have to have empathy to be able to develop a strong message. And so we help ourselves as we develop it. So as you see here, though, you were probably wondering what that green and yellow and blue highlighting was. What we're doing when we go through the text after we've created it, we look and we say, how do these relate? To those 3 success factors that we talked about. Strong efficacy beliefs. Encarnacion, she hasn't had much school, but she's good at the register. She's quick. She can do math in her head, which is often sometimes more than I can do. So we can tie into that, and we want to look at those strong efficacy beliefs. How can we tie into them? We know that she has a goal, a robust motivation. She was saving money and thought she could soon get her own apartment. And then we do know that she has fear about pathways. She doesn't feel secure. She doesn't know where to turn. So when we look at these 3 emotional points, that helps us craft the right message for her.
Right. So we take that then into the next phase. Once you figure out, okay, here's my persona, and I have my message strategy, which I'll put up right here when it needs to be. And then I'm going to craft 3 parts to the message. Now we are getting into some marketing message. And that marketing message needs to have, number 1, what is the persona's pain point? Because again, you want to be relatable to that persona as you're going in the market. You're going to have a call to action, which is basically your program solution for that problem. And then you're going to have a benefit for the persona. And this, I cannot stress this enough. A lot of times when we do communications audit on your school websites or your flyers or your brochures, what we see is features based. We have this program, it starts on this day, registration starts here, here are your requirements, etc. All that stuff is, we're not saying, it's good information, but it's not a recruitment message. So what we're trying to do is break through those 6,000 to 10,000 messages every day and speak to personas on an emotional level. So an example of one, and I'll just put this one up here, for this particular persona is something like, do you feel like your life just keeps getting harder? Do you feel like you don't know where to turn to make things better, or even if you should try? So posing questions in a marketing message is just fine. And our persona here is saying yes. So our program is for hardworking people who speak little English. We can provide a pathway to a better job in life, improving your English and helping you gain new skills for the post-COVID-19 world. That's a benefit. And then there is a new way forward for you. That's also addresses her efficacy beliefs, by the way. And then we're just saying our message on this particular persona may be something like a new way forward. And we could get them to go to a website, newwayforward.com, which, by the way, you can purchase that domain name and just put a little recruitment site on your current website that pushes people to that one page where you would get their contact information or perhaps text. So a new way forward, we feel this would be a really solid benefit and call to action for this particular persona. Marianne, anything else on this? So you can see how the communication platform kind of pulls together there.
Yeah, just this is an example. This is not an actual campaign, but this
Right.
is, we use this as to kind of show you how we get there.
We'll show you a campaign here momentarily, one actually that you can leverage. But let's, if I could get Lori Howell, hello Lori, unmuted, that would be great. Her camera is on. So if one of the CAEP taps could unmute her, that would be great. Thank you. Hey, Lori, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
Hey,
hello, everyone.
To see you. Good to see you. Why don't you tell everybody where you're from and kind of what you do?
Oh, my goodness, where I'm from. So I work for San Diego College of Continuing Education, which is the adult education division of the San Diego Community College District. I'm an instructional dean over ABE and ASC, which is our high school diploma and high school equivalency, over hospitality, culinary, and clothing and textile arts. And I'm also a campus dean.
Lots of hats, lots of hats. I've had the pleasure of actually talking with Miss Lori on several of her projects, about several of her projects. So what we'll do here, I'm just going to put all these up. And I was going to say, put it in the chat box, but we thought, I mean, you guys can still put this in the chat box and we can maybe workshop some things, but we thought it'd be more fun to do live with a couple of you. So think about your enrollment numbers, Lori, and what area you need to increase on campus. Things is like, okay, this is my pain point now, right? I need to increase in this area. And then after that, what market segment do you feel you need to attract to increase those enrollments? Is it someone that maybe is looking to increase skills, or someone learning English, that kind of thing? And then let's maybe talk through some of their biggest barriers and challenges during this interim recovery, right? What, from your perspective, knowing those students, what you think they are, and then we can kind of brainstorm messages that maybe you would use in a campaign. Whoops, and let me put that slide back up there. So let's go with the first one. Is there one pain point in particular that you can think of that, lacking in enrollment?
So there are two populations that decreased, and one was our African-American male population and also our low-income students.
And in any particular course?
So for for my programs across the board, it was in high school equivalency.
Okay, got it. So those two targets. Marianne, are you coming on this one too? That would be great. Because
Sure.
you can talk about zip code targeting and all that kind of stuff in terms of reaching, but is your camera on, Marianne?
And also just in terms of context, we did increase our population of single moms in our high school program. But we did have some, the population shifted, right? And
Right.
so while we did see a decrease of low income and African-American males, it was an increase in single mothers.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
the,
go ahead, Marianne,
Okay.
sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, that's a prime example of people who could not get to a classroom prior to this, but can now go online as single moms.
Mhm.
And the African American male has just been worrisome because that has been across the board an issue. And there's just so many things we need to work on in that.
Definitely. Okay, so let's think through then. So we're targeting African-American male and low income for high school equivalency or GED, et cetera. That's kind of the setup, right? That we want to recruit those.
And
Okay.
CTE.
And CTE. Okay, well, that message may be different, right? So let's take it. And I'm really glad you brought it up because the more refined you can get in your market segment and with the message and targeting out to that specific target, the more success you're going to have on the number of leads. Okay. So let's take high school equivalency as an example here. Think about, in your mind, what are the biggest barriers and challenges that your students are facing right now in the interim recovery?
Oh, probably the digital literacy and access to technology.
Okay. And access to technology. So their pain point would be around just being able to work on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead, I was going to
Mary.
say, have you been distributing Chromebooks to your students?
We've distributed books. I don't know what kind of laptop it was though, but I don't think it was a Chromebook. I think it was a laptop.
Okay. So the access, so you can give them access, you can't give them literacy or require additional work for literacy.
So we don't currently have digital literacy curriculum because it hadn't been so much of an issue before.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that with the high school, I think that's just a key thing to really key into is just because the high school equivalency is going to get much, much bigger as a program because we have the dropout rates from the last 2 years now are so high. So we've been really looking at that from a youth standpoint as well. How do you get a kid who's now 19 maybe and went into their junior year with no access, no digital literacy, dropped out of high school, and after this really rotten junior or senior year, now you're going to come back to school and get your high school equivalency? I think when you're digging into the personalities there, what do you see as the biggest pain point for them? What is their biggest argument against going back to school?
Well, they need to work, and it's
okay.
And they have to, decide whether I'm going to go to school or go to work, right? And they choose, going to work. The digital literacy, Kelly reminded me, we have particular problems in the lower levels, adults who are struggling with literacy, and particularly in our Spanish high school equivalency prep program. We have a lot of older students, so the demographics are completely different from program to program. And we actually have older students in our high school diploma program. I think the oldest one was like 65.
Yeah, I just want to say that is great that you're looking at that, Lori, because that I would never do a single persona. I would do those are 3 different segments.
Yes, exactly. It's not a one size fits all. And see, this is why it's so important to do this work up front, because again, you miss the message, you miss the mark. So like Lori, with what you said, you were saying digital literacy, and then Marianne was trying to get into it. I said, well, what's their pain point around that? So part of it is the question, are you feeling left behind? Do you think are you grappling with, not grappling is too big a word, but are you trying to do both school and work at the same time and getting nowhere? You know, do you want to go back to school because you want to make more money, but you don't have the time to do it? You know, you don't think you can do. So that's what we mean by getting inside their heads. Those are the kind of recruitment messages up front you'd want to pose to them, right? It's not just like, what about digital literacy? What brings out, you know, what is causing their fears? What are their main emotional pain points? So something like that for that persona, that particular, would work, right? Because you're catching me. I'm saying, yeah, I am worried about this. That's what you want to call out in that first part of the message, right? And then the second part, you say, hey, our program has this benefit. When you do this, you are able to overcome this. Text us, call us, and then is it a new way forward? Is it somewhere, you know, what's the little message there that would tie in? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And even the accessing Zoom and then accessing the teacher's Canvas shell and then getting an email, some of that is pretty foreign to some of our older students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so we did a quick workshop with you there, but you got some food for thought, hopefully, right? On that one. Now, if we have more time, I would dive into the CTE, but let's see what Lori Ann brings up on the next one. Maybe she has a CTE segment and we can tackle that one. As long as you've got the formula, right, in terms of what we're trying to do, the context. Okay, good. Thanks, Lori. It's good to see you. Okay, can the tap bring on Lori Ann? And Lori Ann, can you open up your camera too so we can see you?
Yes, and Lori Ann, we have sent a request to unmute. Oops, one more time. I'm sorry.
There we go. Hey, Lori Ann, how are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing good. Thanks for volunteering and kind of helping us kind of workshop this for everybody. Why don't you tell everybody where you're from and what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Larry Ann Torres. I'm director of Tulare Adult School for the Tulare Joint Union High School District. I will be transitioning to a new role. So I will be transitioning as the director of Porterville Adult School. In the next month or so. But I've had a great almost 10 years here in Tulare. 5 of those years have been director of the adult school, and then I was assistant director prior to that.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what is your pain point today in terms of enrollment?
You know, we've been very lucky during the pandemic that we've been able to keep our doors open. So I know we were really one of the only few adult schools that's really been truly able to, you know, to be open. All of our career tech ed programs have been, since day one of the pandemic, were approved. I wrote a plan, a COVID plan, and submitted it to the county health department and our district for approval to keep all of my career tech ed programs open. So students were on site half day, and then the other half day they were at home on their online or out at their clinical sites. So we've been very lucky with that. All of our academic programs, those teachers, most of them got approval to work from home, all but 2. So we only had 2 classes on site, and then all the rest, the teachers were Zooming with their students from home. We just came back right before Easter. So now all of our regular academic programs, the students are on site or they're actually working still distance learning. A lot of students are still Zooming in from home or Zooming in from the workplace, Zooming in from their break rooms. Mm-hmm. We've had a student that Zoomed in or has been Zooming in from working out in the fields. I know our teachers are still loving the Zoom or that, you know, capability of allowing students to still be able to Zoom in from home.
Okay, so out of all that, what are your enrollment issues?
I would just say,
like which class? Like if we just had a magic wand and we said, guess what? Full capacity marketing gets to work with you on your recruitment enrollment numbers.
So I would say it would be ESL or our high school equivalency, getting those numbers up in those 2 programs. A lot of it is, you know, we've seen that a lot of our students or our adults have students that are at home because they're not in school every day or even all day on the days that they are in school. So we're seeing that, parents are still at home or they're working. And so, they haven't been able to come in. They're Zooming in, but they're not actually necessarily on campus. But I would really say those would be the two areas that we definitely need to really work on marketing and trying to get those students through the door.
Okay.
And I've been multitasking this last hour because here in California, of course, the governor's May revise just came out, which is truly going to affect us because it looks like the CAPE funding, we're only getting a 1.7% COLA.
Okay.
That is, right now, I've just been like gasping, seeing that the community colleges and the libraries are getting like $50 million to serve ESL students, and community colleges, I've got the number here, are getting such a huge increase to be able to serve ESL students as well in those programs. So when we really talk about marketing, we're going to have to be really strategic if we want to keep our doors open and we want our students to be coming to our adult ed campuses and not going to a local library or a community college. So this news just came out. So we're all kind of gasping, on this side today. And so I've been multitasking this last couple of hours, but just knowing that, today at 3 o'clock, we're going to be Access having a legislative budget kind of breakdown. But for us in adult ed, we've got to really, this marketing piece is huge, but we've got to get creative in how we keep our students and keep these doors open so we can make progress, and show that we're doing great things.
Yeah, for sure. And, this is why if you really look at CAEP, it is coming from a regional approach with marketing. And we've done lots of really wonderful things in terms of regional campaigns and then taking a look at leveraging, resources and where enrollments need to take place. But let's just take ESL as an example, right? And Marianne, you want to kind of facilitate this one on ESL? We'll pick that one. Just like I did with Lori, I had her pick one, right? So,
right.
Yes.
Lorianne, I'm going to pull in another marketing tactic that we had absolutely no plans to talk about in this workshop, but addresses what you just said. And that's called a perceptual map. And what that basically says is, what do we do better than everybody else? So when we're looking and saying community colleges, and we've seen this too, are getting money to do it. Libraries are getting money to do ESL. What segment do adult schools serve better than either libraries or community colleges?
Yes.
And so when you know who that is, what that is, that's where you focus your efforts. So, who off the top of your head do you have? I mean, obviously something needs some thought, but does anything occur to you off the top of your head?
Are you talking about a person, or are you just talking about in general, like, what do our programs offer that they don't, or
what types of people would you better serve taking ESL at an adult school versus a library versus the community?
we know our low literacy levels are, we really work with those individuals that even our students that are non-citizens, coming to our program, and just because we have those the citizenship prep embedded into our programs as well. And so that's truly a benefit for them. They can be doing both at the same time.
That's terrific. I mean, that is exactly what when you're looking at your marketing to make the most of your marketing dollars, is particularly when you're a tight budget, is really spending your focus on really understanding that person who is, and there will be more people. I mean, there's been a bit of a lull in trying to get your citizenship, because obviously with the past administration, this was kind of a challenge. So I think that is a really great place for you to focus, to really look at saying, let's develop, who are those different people? What do they look like? Where do they live? What are their pain points?
So, Lorianne, in your situation, now that we've kind of, and it seems so counterintuitive, doesn't it? Like in marketing, you think, oh, we're going to tell everybody, right? And that may be good for overall awareness, but when you're looking at recruitment and enrollment, you really got to drill in. So I would take this, let me just back it up here just a little bit and see if I can, there's a, sorry here. Down. Oop, I'm going forwards, not backwards. Okay, there is a sheet in here and I will show it to you, but it gives you all the questions on the personas and how do you go through the questions with your team and this whole process. I know I'm making you all dizzy here. I'm trying to find it. Here it is right here. It's this one. Consider your target populations. Go through these questions with your internal team and then develop a message for that market segment, right? Now we're going to get into how you find that market segment next, right? Because that's a whole other thing, because usually we just mail out catalogs. But how would you then, as Lori was trying to get her African-American low income, once you define the details of yours, Lorianne, how would you, focus on that? And that's what we're going to move into next, okay? Fantastic. Thank you both for participating. Let's give them all a virtual round of applause. And then we're going to kind of get into this last section here. Okay, here we go. Last section, which is the campaign that we're now working on, which is a recruitment campaign. It's a national adult education recruitment campaign called Move Ahead, hashtag Move Ahead with Adult Ed. And what we did is we took all of our psychographic research that we have and working with clients all over the country, and we came up with some solid benefits message that, where we built out a national campaign website called moveaheadwithadulted.org. And if you go to that website, you'll see a lot of benefits statement. And this website was designed for one thing and one thing only, and that is to help adult learners understand what adult education offers and the benefits, number two. And then thirdly, how do they find you and on our locator map? And I'll show that to you. So you see here, very simple message, free or low cost classes, learn office skills to get a better job, improve your English, etc. And then down below we have, finish what you started in high school, get job training, learn computer skills, learn English. And all of that takes them to this locator map. This doesn't matter what, I want that. They're going to go to the locator map. And what they do is they put in their zip code and they filter out what they're interested in. Maybe it is learning English or a new skill. And then hopefully your school pops up. Now, if you are not on this locator map, we've given you the link here because you want to get with COABE and download the communications toolkit, put your information in there, and they will populate you and put you on the website. Why is this important? Because we just got for COABE $120,000 ad scholarship from Google Ads. And so our team is now running advertising, actually starting today, to push students to this website. So as we're hitting students in your area or in California, and they're like, hey, I'm in Tulare County, or hey, I'm in San Diego, Lori, they're going to put in the zip code and your school will pop up and then you'll get contacted. So this is one level that we're doing for a campaign for everybody. It's an awareness campaign and getting people to understand. So you need to be on this locator map. So that's your homework assignment, right? One of them when you come out of here. The other thing we're doing is that we are offering very cost-effective packages for adult schools so that we take and leverage that campaign and move it into a localized recruitment campaign for you for 6 weeks. And Huntington Beach Adult School is working with us right now. And Marianne, will you take them just kind of quickly through this, and then we can show them the creative and how that aligns the local campaign with the national campaign?
Sure. So for Huntington Beach, and just a little map here, and what you'll see here is we do a lot of heat maps, and this particular one shows the poverty levels. So as you can see, Huntington Beach with the red being the higher poverty. So the area you see in red there is a very heavily immigrant community, a Hispanic immigrant. when you're seeing over kind of in the tan area, in the kind of semi-orange area, that's a very Vietnamese community. Whereas much of the rest of the one, as you see, is a higher income. It's coastal Southern California, so there's a higher income there. So they have a real mix of people in this area. And we were asked to leverage the Move Ahead with Adult Ed campaign for them. And what we did is we took some personas, and we have Luz, Hispanic woman. And we call her the self-directed senior, because I know a number of you have community programs for seniors, or that is a focus of yours. We have Jake, a new beginning striver. Now, Jake is dropped out of high school, but he's a smart kid. He got a job and he's looking back now. We went through a whole persona with him. And then we have an impulsive underachiever, Fleur, who is part of the Vietnamese community. There are some very things that are different about the communities there, and how the families work together, and what their beliefs are in education. So we developed these 3 personas for them. And from that, I'm going to cue the slide, moved into developing out these personas. And this is Jake. And what I want to do with Jake is take you through that exercise that we just did with Encarnacion, and show you how we applied it to Jake. So Jake left high school 5 years ago, doesn't remember going to class much, but he remembers it being easy. Self-efficacy. That's where we're going to pull into him. That's what we want to talk to him about. He just wasn't interested in finishing when he could get a job at his uncle's auto body shop. The past year has been tough. He sees some of his friends from his math class who went to college with good jobs, working from home, not out there working outside. He knows he is a lot smarter than them. Again, self-efficacy. But he wonders if he could still go to college. Well, that is a goal. But he knows he has to get his high school diploma first, but figures it'll be easy. But he's not sure how long it will take to get a degree. He's not sure how long it will take to get his diploma. He doesn't know what's next. And so even though we see people who are saying, we always talk about pathways to jobs, sometimes it's, what's the pathway to even get my diploma or finish? How long is this going to take? I mean, that's an issue I'm sure you hear coming up a lot, and we don't always address it in the marketing materials. So moving on.
And also, I just got a message from Amanda Lee, who said, oh, we only have 2 minutes, but this workshop goes to 1:30. So just as a point, I don't know what was, anyway, till 1:30. So hopefully you can hang in there, because we got some good stuff coming up. Okay, there you go, Marianne. All set for you.
Actually, I did this on the last slide. Aren't you happy, Selena?
I'm very happy.
Make up some of that time that I used up earlier. Yeah, so we can go. This is just basically what I was talking about, moving those things that you know from their persona to those key things that we know are equal success. So then the next questions are, how do we apply that then to the communication platform to encourage and engage Jake, Fleur, and Luz? Basic question we're asking. This is something that can go on your website, or can go in an advertisement or on a flyer.
Yes.
Are you feeling turned around this last year? Are you taking a second look at your job, your opportunities, your life? Again, as we talked about in the research, we know this is happening. I mean, I know I'm doing it. Aren't you guys all doing it too? It's like, what happened? This is a key change for all of us. And I'll just say a kind of a point there. That's the empathy point, where you can really meet your adult learners where they are. You get that. We all get that. Do you feel like you don't know where to turn to make things better? Pain point. What's the benefit? Our programs for people who are open to making a change. You're open whether you want to be or not right now, because of how we all are in the world right now. We can provide a pathway to a better job and life by helping you gain new skills for the post-COVID world. Couple big things in one sentence. Nothing about features, nothing about when the classes start, when they end, where they're at. We're providing a pathway. We're helping you, and I know that that's really important for adult students, and you're going to gain new skills. So that's going to be a key benefit to bring out. And so what we came up with for Huntington Beach was, your chance is now. Again, we're tying into that feeling of people are very open right now to do something. And it's not always going to present as, I'm ready, what do we do? But we know that internally people are in a position in life where they can take a chance. And so this tagline, your chances now, really resonates with people. And that's what, particularly in this Huntington Beach area, which is where we put this together. So what we've done is the entire campaign is Move Ahead with Adult Ed, Your Chances Now, specifically for Huntington Beach. Go to yourchancesnow.com or text help. That would be a possible campaign that we would put out. And so here is the actual landing page that we developed. So Linda, do you happen to have that by chance, the link on that? Maybe not. Like I didn't put it in the.
It's not live yet,
notes.
so yeah, it's going to be launching soon. So I just put but you see, it's the same template, right? It's saying, and the reason we do that, I forgot to mention this, Mary Ann, if I can just jump in really quickly, is that it takes 5 to 12 strategic touch points with a student to get that person to enroll. So think about it. Could be a flyer, could be your website, could be social media, talking to a counselor, et cetera. So why this is important, and we're leveraging the national campaign because we have $120,000 in ad campaign going out, and people are seeing this now. Now they may see it in your local area. Oh, I see this again. I got to check this out. So that's why we're doing it this way. That's the strategy. So that's why it looks the same, although the message shifts, right, for Your Chances Now Huntington Beach Adult School, but it's the same kind of template base, if you will.
Yeah, so you see that what we did is we took that exact same landing page that they would have gone to. If so, you click on moveahead.org with adulted.org, which I put in the chat, probably 15 messages up, but it's in there. You'll see it looks very, very similar. And people will have been directed to that website through the Google campaign. But if you're for Huntington Beach, we're running ads on Google and we're running ads on social media that'll say, go to this site, which is connected. And that's really cool because it is actually a sub page. So
right.
It's a microsite, which helps if anybody is familiar with SEO, it helps a lot with SEO, driving people there. And you'll see we have a Vietnamese woman, we have a Hispanic man, reflective of the area. We've added the school name really big there. You can see Huntington Beach Adult School. We've added the Huntington Beach logo. And we've modified the copy to reflect unique messaging in that school.
Mm-hmm.
Also embedded in there is a lead collection form. Again, we're reflecting the people who live in Huntington Beach and who the adult school serves. With the landing page is collecting email addresses and phone numbers, which for the younger people, they don't answer their phone. It's a text number. So it's really important to be able to get those. And what we do for Huntington Beach and for all of our clients actually is, as the leads come in, they are directly, whether they're from the ads or from the contact sheet, directly uploaded into a Google Drive, which the Huntington Beach now staff they're putting together. We're helping them to put together the follow-up team. I think some of you may have been doing that. It's kind of the directive has been to get that personal follow-up, is putting the leads that come to the website directly into a Google Drive where it can be picked up immediately by the people designated for follow-up to really get in touch with them. So that like speeds up the process immensely too.
And it's such a critical step because just think, if you're investing money in local ads and you get a lead that is very interested, what happens when it goes to your school? Who is going to be following up? How does that follow-up occur? So those are some of the things we strategize with our clients up front, because you want your investment to pay off.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we've done is because, and I know a lot of you have this issue with with many different languages in your area. What we've done is we've enabled this page, all the pages on the Move Ahead with Adult Ed, to be available in various different languages, and being able to do the advertising in different languages. And what we've done is been able to use the Google Translator, which we know isn't perfect, but it's close enough for the purpose of getting somebody interested enough and being able to find the contact, give us their contact information. So what we've done is we're going to have it in 4 different languages, Vietnamese, Spanish, English, And I think Arabic is the other one, because we have there's a fairly large Arabic community. But if there are additional ones, we can easily put that in there as well. So the ads actually have a link to the translated landing page. And that's a real bonus for being able to really work in areas where you just have a whole lot of different English language learners coming from a whole bunch of different places. And here's the ads I was talking about. So we have these custom ads, and it's interesting. You may think that when you run an ad, you think about an ad that you see on television, it looks the same, or an ad you see on Facebook or anywhere. It generally looks the same every time. That's because ads, there really are maybe 5 ads running. What you're seeing on Facebook or you're seeing on the web is an ad that is targeted to you. Every campaign that we do, we might do 50 different ads with 50 different images and 50 different pieces of copy. Each ad is targeted to a specific segment. So the image is changed, the ad copy is A/B tested to maximize the number of leads. And then one of the things that we do also is we ask you to give us a list of all of your inactive students, people who may have been active, they may have attended and a few years ago, but didn't return. They may have gone to an interest session. All those things can be uploaded into social media, into Facebook, Instagram, and we can reach out directly to those people through the advertising effort. And so that has been a really positive strategy for us, particularly recently, because there are so many people that dropped out of school for one reason or another over the last year and a half.
Right. So think about this campaign in 2 ways. One, you've got the national campaign. You want to get yourself on the locator map. That will help people find you. Secondly, if you're interested in a localized recruitment campaign, see us, because we'll take this and retool it for you guys at a local level. And the price point is very good on that. Let's give you some more free stuff though, and talk about how else you can leverage the campaign. So the toolkit items, if you go to this link, you'll be able to look at all of the toolkit resources. There is a logo, Move Ahead with Adult Ed, which is great because you can put it on your website and say that you're a proud partner and cross-link and that kind of thing. And that'll help everybody search engine optimization, or as Marianne said, SEO. And we also have some web copy you could put on there, like San Diego Continuing Education School is a proud partner of Move Ahead with Adult Ed, right? So you'll be able to take that and sort of tailor it, if you will. Also in the toolkit are professional fact sheets with infographics, and these are all editable. We also have a bank of stock photography in there that you guys can go and change the photos around. So you know how sometimes you have different people at your school sending out multiple flyers all with a different look and feel? Well, again, if you're leveraging the brand of Move Ahead with Adult Ed, that's yet another touch point. So maybe they saw the national campaign, maybe you're doing a local, now you've got a fact sheet with that brand on it and your contact information. So it's starting to really add up on the touch points. And then we also have a news release template. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. A bank of social media posts. So right now we're doing another one of these local campaigns with ABC Adult School in Cerritos. And we've taken and there's a bank of social media posts, and they're going to take this toolkit to enhance the advertising campaign, announce it on a press release, use the social media posts as additional tools to get the word out. And then we also have an e-newsletter template. So if you don't have anything like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, you can sign up for MailChimp. It's free. And we actually have developed a very professional Move Ahead with Adult Ed e-newsletter that you can send out to your database with calls to actions and those emotional messages. So out of all of this, we're going to take 2 of the tools and go into them a little bit deeper. And I just wanted to share with you the power of this toolkit. This is a quote from Robert Moore. He's the director of Adult Ed at Broadview. In his state in Indiana, they had a 42% statewide decrease in enrollments, if you can imagine. They used the toolkit. They only saw a 15% decrease in enrollment during COVID. And they got increased media exposures with newspapers wanting to pick up a story and run with it. And because of that, a local company contacted them and wanted to do a new workforce initiative. So their whole state is going together and doing a Move Ahead with Adult Ed campaign. But this really speaks to the power of these tools and how you sort of all put them together. So let's talk about doing a drip email campaign with that e-newsletter. And Marianne, what in the world is a drip campaign? Why would they want to do it? And then we'll get into how they do it. And you're muted, Marianne. Oh, I think Marianne froze. Okay, no worries. So I'll tell you what a drip email campaign is. It is when you get a lead in from, say, one of the ad campaigns or what have you, you do not want that lead to sit there. You want follow-up to happen. And you also want to follow up with those maybe who didn't open or didn't touch the ad and that kind of thing. I'm sorry, who did touch the ad, and you maybe want to retarget that particular group of people. So an email campaign can be fantastic. You can also do this as text as well. So remember, multiple touch points are equal greater enrollments, and that's where we're trying to hit that 5 to 12 touch points. A drip campaign is a series of emails that you send out or a series of texts, and they're very special messages. There's emotional messages with the calls to action. You're going to use that formula that repeat. And they may be slightly different, but a series of them. And they're for both new students and inactive students as well to kind of re-engage them. And it uses names collected on the landing page lead form. Remember the lead form that we shared with you on the recruitment website. So anyway, it's a really great tool to use. And in that package, what we have, oops, let me go back up here. In this package here, at that link, you will see, and you'll need some help with this if you're not savvy with like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, but there's literally just a snippet of code that you can put in the MailChimp, and it will be able to, you'll be able to send out these e-newsletters or text messages, etc., to your database. Now, let's talk a little bit about segmenting your database because it's really super important. Remember when we had conversations with Larry Ann and Lori about, okay, who is it you're really trying to target? It's important to look at your student database and segment the database, maybe by your ESL students, by CTE, by demographic, by race, because then that tailored message can get to them in a very structured way through this email campaign. Again, one size doesn't fit all. Maybe a one size fits all message is, hey, we're open for business, come see us, if some benefits of the school. But then to really get into a recruitment campaign, you want to have those targeted messages. So this is just a great tool to use. It's very professionally done. You add your logo in here. And we even have some startup copy for you that announces your engagement in the Move Ahead with Adult Ed campaign. So very, very cool. The other tool is the press release template, and it looks something like this, and it'll just say insert your city, insert a quote from your director, and basically what it does, it sets up the business case of support for adult education for the media. So you can really just take this and tool it to whatever you're wanting to talk about and then send it out to the media. Now, before you do that, I would recommend that you put on your website the Move Ahead with Adult Ed logo and the web copy so that the media can see, oh yeah, you're part of this campaign, but whatever you're wanting to promote, and that'll help get the word out through the news media as well. For those of you who don't work with the news media, we've given you here links, and we would recommend that you create your database of media contacts. So there's different links here for broadcast as well as paper, online newspapers, things of that nature, and create that. And also when you do that research, you could have an intern do this research for you. As you're building out your base, is to target the approach on key topics. So locate the right person for sending out the press release. So someone that covers the beats of education, jobs, workforce, the economy, business, all that would be applicable in adult ed, and they would be interested in this. The other thing you want to do once you have that list is really follow them on social media and LinkedIn. Make that connection. Follow their social media threads, especially on Twitter. What do they cover? If they're saying, gosh, you know, you see a post out of something they're covering around people getting left behind in the job market, that's us, right? We have a solution for that. So kind of look at the media as another kind of key influencer, if you will, a person on your marketing team that can get the word out for you. So all the tools in there, I would pick these two, you know, in the actual toolkit, if you will. Okay, before and Marianne's computer crashed, so she's coming back in. Do we have any questions? I pulled up the chat, and Mandalee, maybe you can come in and see if we've missed any comments or questions, and then I'll just take the last part and go through the resources, the additional resources for the team.
This is Lori. I have a question.
Yes.
I noticed in some of the advertisements, it was just the student, and then in others, it was the student in a classroom setting. What distinguishes which one that you use?
You know, it just really depends, Lori. You know, it's just a plethora of images that would be applicable. But the other thing you can do too is if you get an ad together, you may want to show a student or two and say, hey, you know, we're trying to get students engaged in this class. Does this message appeal to you? Did the visual appeal to you? What would you change about it? Images are really, really important, but that was just kind of like, let's just do kind of a broad base classroom person. Good question. Really good question.
And Selena, this is Mandalee. You haven't missed any questions in the chat.
Okay.
There were some comments when you were speaking. Nancy Miller said this is a great candidate for SB 554. And then Marianne answered the other question in the chat. So
Good. Okay, fantastic. So what we really wanted to do in today's workshop is, and hopefully you got this, that marketing really is two things. It's like messages and the mediums, right? And what Marianne was talking about, the heat maps for Huntington Beach. The reason we do those is that you can drill into very specific demographics and even psychographics in different neighborhoods. So you can actually deliver the messages down to the zip code level, down to the neighborhood level, which is really important when you do this kind of work as well. And those are things that we can certainly help you with when you get to that level. But in the short amount of time we've had with you, we wanted to give you a couple of things today. We wanted to give you a formula. One, we want to give you a perspective on this interim recovery, right? So that was all the data points. And those are really important data points to think about in terms of barriers and motivations for your adult learners. Secondly, we wanted to give you a process and a formula for really narrowing down who you want to target, which I know is so counterintuitive, but looking at your enrollment numbers and then drilling down and being able to create personas as well as key message points using that communication platform. And again, the platform is three things: the pain point, the solution, and the benefit. And I would just ask you to do a communications audit of your different touch points of your students, your websites, your flyers, your social media. Do you have that formula in there? Or are you talking mainly features? So fix that, right? That's one thing you can do. And then lastly, we wanted to give you options for being a part of the campaign with Move Ahead with Adult Ed. The national campaign obviously is off and running. You want to make sure you're on that map. And then if you want a localized campaign, and if you want us to contact you, then, you know, put your email in the chat, and we can definitely contact you and do a consultation and take a look, what are you doing right now and what can be improved. And then also the free communications toolkit, highly recommend that you jump all over that and start applying that message work into those different professionally made mediums, if you will. Lastly, in the resource section, other things that we can point you to, and I think Marianne had a couple of these links in the chat. But video is super important right now. And so there's different types of campaigns and videos and things that we've done. I've just given you a link there to our YouTube channel so you can check out things that might be of interest. You can sign up for our e-newsletter and also check out the blog. We started our leadership blog probably about a year ago when COVID hit, because we wanted a place where people could come to and say, how do I maneuver within this environment? So we've got a lot of ebooks and case studies as well. And I believe Marianne had posted this link as well, which is a blog on the power of personas, which we covered today. My contact information is in your package. So again, feel free to reach out. We'll get the chat feed of anybody who put their information in and make sure that we reach out to you as well. Marianne, any other thoughts? I know you crashed during the, you were so powerful, Marianne, you crashed your computer.
I don't know what happened. I've actually just jumped back in on my phone. So that's why I'm no, I think that covers really what we wanted to say. I did not get all of those links in, but they all are in your packet. So just making sure that you're able to check us out. You can also follow us on Twitter. We're both on there, and we do put out things on a regular basis of things that we're working on.
Oh yeah, and one other thing I forgot, connect with us on our LinkedIn company page, and also with me personally. We run a social media work group for workforce and education professionals, and just connect with me on LinkedIn and say you want to be part of the group, because it's by invite only, and we don't do any sales or anything. It's posting and learning from each other. So that is another thing we can offer you. We really try to just stay in front of the power curve in here and just give you guys as much information as possible, because we know your work is very difficult. And I just want to thank you all for your leadership. Your job is not easy. We know you wear multiple hats. Marketing is just one of the small things that you've got to deal with enrollments and everything. So just wanted to thank you all. And it's just been such a pleasure to be with you here today. We hope to get that with you soon. And I'll turn it back over to Mandalee.
Thank you so much, Selena and Marianne. Today was a great opportunity to learn so much. We thank Full Capacity Marketing. We have popped a link in the chat box. So we do ask all of you that stayed on to please make sure you fill out that evaluation. That helps us plan future PD, as well as registration. Coming up, we've got some additional data dives. Next Tuesday, data dive part 2. And then the following day, what is CB21 all about? And then we have additional PDs that are coming up. So just visit our registration site and you can see all of those. And Marianne and Selena, we will make sure to download the chat. There are lots and lots of emails for people asking for you to reach out. And with that, we're going to close out, and thank you again all for staying on. Have a great afternoon and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.